Welcome back, y'all. This morning it's just me and Maggie and Jacob here. Meagan had to go into work for a little while. So I guess me and you and Maggie's going to take care of a little bit of garden stuff this morning, ain't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going to see if we can't get everything finished cleaning up and put to bed for the winter. And last night and early this morning, we got a surprise rain shower. We ended up getting 3/10 of rain, or actually just a little bit over 3/10. So we was pretty excited about that. That wasn't something that, well, we actually wasn't expecting that. I think we're going to go ahead and take down our teepees here. And I'm going to explain something real quick. So for this part of the garden right here, where we've been doing this bed, and this bed, you notice it's outside of the main garden fence right there. I'm not going to put these to bed like I have my other gardens because I've got plans for out here. I think I'm going to extend my garden fence and actually turn this whole area into one big garden area. So we would put a post. We'll probably come out and put a post about right here, and it'll go over that way towards the driveway and then join back in with that corner post over there.
It'd be the biggest garden we've ever had.
Well, it's going to give us a lot more room. And we were having a problem with the deer coming up in this little spot right here and eating everything that was planted out in here. I mean, right here beside the house was one of the worst areas that we had for the deer pressure. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with the beds yet. I don't know if I'm going to till this whole area up and do it like we do this garden, or if I'm going to turn this into a raised bed garden. I really don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I thought maybe we should do like it was, like take down that part and then put one across our fence right here, or we could have like a row right here, a row right there.
Well, I'm thinking I'm gonna.
Just jumped off the ground.
What is that? A potato?
Well, then the grass.
I think I'm gonna leave this fence right here, Jacob, because the grapevine's growing on it, and I don't really want to disturb that grapevine because it finally done good this year. So the bad thing is like if I do it, I'm going to have to walk out that gate to come into this section of the garden. But I'm still considering tilling it up and doing it that way, or just turning it into a raised bed area. I don't know. I've actually got several oak logs that I'm going to saw this winter, and white oak makes a good rot. Well, it's a good rot resistant wood to use to make raised beds out of. I just don't know if I've got enough wood to make this many raised beds, because it would take several raised beds to fill this area right here. So I'm not sure. But anyways, this little area right here is about to change, so we're not actually going to put the beds to rest, and that's the main reason I piled these leaves up in here, was because I know I'm probably going to use them for some future use in this new garden area. I just don't know exactly what I'm going to do yet. The deer's even been out here eating on this comfrey. They haven't eaten anywhere else on our place, and we got quite a bit of comfrey growing, and they hadn't eaten anywhere except for here. But anyways, let's get started, Jacob. We got to get these beds right here down and we probably should just go ahead and pull all these strings off, and then we'll place these somewhere under the shelter so they can be ready for us to use next year.
We're gonna save them?
Yeah, I'm gonna save them. I'm going to cut, and you take and unwrap that right there. That's all one piece of string. Just unwrap it, wad it up, and we'll throw it away. Maggie, come here. You did it. Yeah, I left that one laying there. You come here and do this one.
We got 3. Perfect.
Look, unwrap that string. It goes all the way around that.
This one actually looks pretty good.
Let me know when y'all get to the other end. It's got to be cut. You about to get it?
Maybe.
And we'll cut this in. The way we made these, they should just pull out of the ground and fold up. Jacob, I think if you want to run and get your lawnmower and run over this spot right here,
Okay.
we'll just let the deck up high and run over this spot.
Okay.
Well, that one's cleaned up and looks a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Now we got to do these beds right here. So I am going to put these to sleep. And what I'm going to use is that leaf pile right there that we sucked off the yard a couple days ago. And I'm just going to put me a layer of leaves over this one, all of them. And I think this year I'm going to go ahead and put a layer of leaves around my garlic here. Now this bed's coming on a little slow.
But that one over there is booming.
That one over there is booming. But this one, I mean, they're still coming up. Like, right there's one just now popping through. That one. I see one right there. Right there. So, they're coming up. They're just, for some reason, that bed's being a lot slower.
Especially in the middle beds. Around the edges, it looked kind of good.
That's right. Right here on this bed, though, this one's looking really good. So, what I'm thinking is I'm going to use this leaf mulch, because that'll be a little bit easier for something to pop up through where they're still coming up. It'd be a lot easier for it to push through that than it would the straw, and it'll be less likely that leaf mulch will cover everything up. Now, I've never used leaf mulch before on the garlic, so this will be a first time for me, but I don't see why it's going to be much different than using straw or hay or anything like that. Its main purpose is going to be to hold the weeds down, hold the moisture in, and sort of insulate that soil in case we get a hard freeze or something throughout the winter. So I don't see how it won't do just as good as the straw would. If I think we can just take this and
just grab it and
just scatter it. Now look, we're gonna have to scatter pretty lightly for now.
Yeah, because
that pile right there is mostly grass clippings.
yeah, the grass will break down too, won't it?
Yeah.
Look at the inside. Look at all that mold.
It's already starting to break down that quick, but it's where it's got so many grass clippings in it.
Look, it's already starting to break down. It is hot in there.
Do what?
It's hot in there.
That's what it does. When stuff starts to break down, it'll create some heat. Let's use this pile right here though, because it's got more leaves in it. And we'll just go kind of, like I said, go kind of thin for now till the garlic pushes on through. And then we'll probably hit it again with some mulch later on.
We're gonna have to wait for the garlic to get big to even see it.
I know now that we got some green grass clippings in there, you can't see the garlic, can you?
Mm-mm. Even the leaves are kind of already starting to break down.
All right, let's do the same thing with that garlic bed. Actually, let's go ahead, since this one's right beside the pile, let's put us a good layer on this bed.
Of this one or the other one?
It don't matter on this one.
Oh. There's a whole bunch of leaves over here too.
We got a bunch of mint that grows right here. I dumped these leaves right on top of the mint because I did the same thing last year trying to thin the mint down, and Turns out the mint just pushed right up through it all.
And I smell the mint.
Yeah, that mint's strong.
We'll kind of have compost that we didn't even plan on making.
In case you didn't watch the other video of us putting the gardens to bed, I topped all this off with some fresh compost before we doing this right here. So these beds have been filled up with compost, and they should be ready to go come springtime.
For this bed, are we gonna put it in the bucket? Or?
Well, it ain't far to tote it. We can just, boy, look at the steam coming out of that.
Holy cow. I putting some on this one? This garlic bed?
Yeah, do the dry leaves on that one.
Okay.
So I don't want this hot grass going on that bed.
That mint stinks.
Part of that smell you smell is the grass breaking down. That stinks too. That clump of grass right there was hot.
I was just getting rid of a whole bunch of the green grass. The only thing that's in this one is leaves.
Well, there's all the beds put to bed for the winter. The beds are put to bed. Got this one covered in leaves. And look what we found. We got 2 nice peppers here. Ain't that something? Here it is, November.
And we're still getting peppers.
Still getting green peppers. And I think we probably got more we could pick. Right there's one. We don't have no really cold weather in the immediate future, so I'm gonna let them grow just a little bit longer. But that's one more chore out of the way there. Next thing I'm aiming to do today is something that I've actually been wanting to do for about a month now, but simply the weather hasn't allowed this to happen. And what I've been waiting on is a good rain shower to soften up the ground. I'm going to take this, which is a plugger, aerator, whatever you want to call them. But anyways, these tines run along the ground and it pulls out little plugs. And will leave little holes all in the ground. And what that does is aerate the soil, but it also gives a place for seed to go. And I'm going to reseed our far pasture out here. If I have time, I'm actually going to reseed the other pasture up there and the one where the 3 steers are. But this one is my main objective today. The grass has gotten pretty shabby out here between all the droughts we've had this year and honestly us just having too many animals on this pasture. It looks pretty rough. And you can see a lot of crabgrass and stuff got killed off by the frost, and there's not very much in the way of fescue left. Like that's fescue, but where it's been grazed down so low, it's just not much to it. We do have some clover in here, and it looks like this pretty much throughout the whole pasture. And it looks rough, it really does. So what I'm going to do is run this plugger over the whole pasture and then go back over it with seed. And of course, I'll show you that when we get that far. I've got some extra suitcase weights on it there to give it some extra weight. And it has these weights right here and right there sitting on top of it too. So it's pretty heavy right now, and it should, especially after the rain we got last night, I'm going to say that this should work up just wonderful. This thing only covers about 5 foot, and so I'm going to be doing this whole pasture. Let's do it. So I'm going to start right here and work my way out and back, and then I'll go out the long strip out there and just work my way down. But for anybody curious, right now the cows are locked into this pasture, which is actually in worse shape than the one I'm working on. But I think if I have time, I'm going to do this pasture today. But in reality, being that the cows are locked in here and this is probably where they're going to stay most of the winter, I'm not sure just how much use it is in doing it, because what seed comes up, they're probably going to just nip off as soon as it sprouts, and if they do that, then it's no good. My main concern is this pasture right here. These little holes, and it pulls out these little plugs here, and if we were wetter, those plugs would be a whole lot longer and these holes would be deeper, but that's just plenty deep enough for some grass seed. But I tried this the other day before it rained, and it wouldn't hardly scratch the ground because the ground was so hard from the dry weather we've had. So before this 3/10 that we got last night, we hadn't had any rain at all, I think in right at 6 weeks, I believe is how long it's been. But that 3/10 really did help out a lot. The ground's a lot moister now than it was when I tried this before. You see all these little holes I'm poking? And all of those, when I sling the seed out, will get filled up with grass seed. And this will essentially be sort of something like what a no-till drill would do. A no-till drill would be better to use, but I don't have a no-till drill and I have a plugger. So this is the next best thing in my opinion. Well, I got the part of the pasture that runs that away done. Now I've got to get this bigger part out here that runs up and down the hill done. I did reseed these pastures in the early spring with white top clover, but I think a lot of it survived, but some of it didn't just because of the drought and stuff that we had. But I like clover in my pasture because clover can stand getting overgrazed and it doesn't kill it out. Clover can handle a drought and it don't kill it out, unless it's, you know, seedlings like what I had. But once it's established, it can handle overgrazing and it can handle drought, and it will just flourish if you've got a wet season going on. So I mean, I like clover, but I like having fescue. I like having a mixture of things. When I first sowed it, I think I put orchard grass, fescue, clover. I don't remember what else now, but I had a mixture of stuff on here when I first sowed it. But I've got the big pasture here done. I'm gonna go up to the house and get the other tractor with the seed sower and go ahead and get this seed slung out, because the old Ford is almost out of fuel and my fuel tank on the truck is empty. So if I want to continue on plugging, I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some fuel. But first I want to go ahead and get this right here done.
Well guys, it has been a long day. Ain't been home too long, but next thing on my list is I've got to get my applesauce made. My apples are already starting to go backwards. It's the variety, I'm sure. There are some apples that are better to keep than others. I don't know what variety these are, but I want to go ahead and get my applesauce made to at least put these to the best use before they go bad. So we're going to get these peeled and cored. I do use my apple peeler for applesauce because it doesn't matter how big the apples are. It actually works really good because the smaller the apples, the quicker they cook down.
gonna be for horses.
Is it too soft?
Yeah.
That one is.
Don't be for the horses.
Yep. We're just gonna go to the chickens because it's just gonna go straight in that right there. Hang on, let me back it up. No good. Alright. When I make applesauce, I usually go by my ball book of canning I have for years. And it turns out really good. So I'm just gonna show y'all how I do that. Now applesauce is a little funny. Sometimes you add sugar, sometimes you don't have to. It's kinda all, once this cooks down and we get it mashed, you taste it, give it a little taste test, see what it tastes like. Good job.
I like how it makes holes.
If it's not sweet enough, of course, add you a little sugar. It don't take a whole lot, but sometimes you don't have to. And actually, these apples have a really good sweet flavor, so we may not have to with this applesauce. We're just going to have to wait and see here. I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of water to my pot. We just won't cut our heat on just yet till we get all our apples in there. Go ahead, just go. And see what it's doing when you start going slow. It starts digging into the apple instead of the peeling.
Yeah. Don't dig into the apple. I'm just going to eat this part.
Okay.
Mm.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so my pot's perfectly full. We'll let that cook down until those apples get soft enough that I can like mash them with a tater masher. So you can do this one of two ways. If you like chunky applesauce, use a tater masher like I do. Or if you like smooth applesauce, you can throw it in a blender, food processor, and blend it up and smooth it up that way. Or run it through a food mill. I have done it that way. I like the chunky better. We're going to let them cook down a little bit.
So right here's what I'm going to be using to reseed with. This just happened to be some grass I had left over from a job I was doing, and instead of taking it back, I thought, why not put it on my pasture? So I've got 4 bags there. I'm not going to use all 4 bags on the big pasture. I think I'm going to put 2 bags. These are 50-pound bags. I think I'm going to put 2 bags on that pasture over there. That should be like plenty of coverage, plenty of heavy coverage actually. And I'm going to save the other 2 bags for the pasture up here at the house and the pasture on the side of the road. I've got, honestly, these 4 bags will probably be too much for all 3 pastures. But let's get it out there. If I can, I like to take them apart at the seam when I open them up, because you can always reuse these sacks for feed sacks or, well, really anything. But so I always keep anything like that right there. I guess you call that nylon. That material there, it's like woven. But they make really good feed sacks. So when I'm using one of these broadcast seeders, I like to go, like I'll run long ways with a field and then cut back and forth across it like that. And that way I know I've got good coverage. I ain't missing those spots. And on this particular seeder here, I'll open it up to about 5 when I'm spreading grass seed. And you can see we've got a full hopper of it here. So running it on a 5 doesn't like open it up all the way, but it allows me to have enough air to where I'm not opening it up too much and then run out of seed before I get everything covered of what I want to cover. The sun is starting to get low in the sky. I'm gonna get this stuff spread and hopefully get everything done this season. I would love to get this other part over here done, but like I said, I'm about out of fuel. I'm gonna have to go to the store. So we'll just see how that goes.
tonight. We're actually going to have a homemade version of Hamburger Helper. So, y'all don't laugh at me, but I guess you would call like this the cheeseburger macaroni. The first year we were married, y'all, if it hadn't been for Hamburger Helper, I'm pretty sure me and Andy both would have starved to death. Cheeseburger macaroni was always one of our favorites. After I quit buying like the box stuff, I come across a recipe, a video, something years ago, and it showed you how to make homemade cheeseburger macaroni like the Hamburger Helper. And it is so good. So that's what we're having tonight. If you remember when I made the sausage dip the other day, I've still got some leftover Velveeta. And this calls for Velveeta, so that's what we're going to have. So I'm going to brown a pound of hamburger first. And while that's cooking, I'm going to check my apples. We're going to see just how soft they are. Because I want them soft enough I can mash them. Oh. Alright. So my apples are good and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all mashed up. So the apples are definitely soft. It's taking nothing to mash them, which is perfect. Maybe I can catch some of these long skins that somehow ended up in there. Oops.
That's those apples.
You gonna try some of the fresh applesauce for supper tonight?
Yeah, a little bit though.
Applesauce is probably one of the easiest things you can make. I mean, it is. Well, y'all seen how simple that was. And look how good that looks. There's still a couple of skins in there I need to fish out, but other than that. Now, I'm going to taste test my applesauce to see if it needs any sugar. We'll just see. That is some fabulous applesauce just by itself. I figured it would be because those apples were sweet, had a real good taste. So I didn't figure making it out of those apples it would need any sweetener. Perfection. So now I need to bring this back up to a boil before I put it in my jars. Throw some chopped fresh peppers into my hamburger mixture here. We're going to let all that just continue to cook down right now. Alright, I'm going to be doing my applesauce in pints. So I'm going to start scooping that in. before I get my applesauce thrown in the water bath canner, I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this. I need some onion powder and some garlic powder. And some wash your sister sauce. I'm going to add a quart of tomato juice. And we're going to add in our macaroni noodles. Now, I've only got about a half a box of macaroni noodles. Hopefully that will be plenty. We're going to just see. So we're going to let that come up to a simmer until our noodles are done.
I've got this pasture right here covered, and if anybody's curious, this pasture is probably only 3 acres. If it's that, it may not even be 3 acres. Probably looks bigger on camera than it really is. But all of this pasture used to look just like that right there. That's my neighbor's. Then you can see our barn right there. He's got a swath that comes up in between up there and down here. So our corner is like right there, and then it angles back up towards our barn. Anyways, all of this used to look like that, and that's why you see these random brush piles out here in the pasture. Honestly, this one we got burnt years ago. It just never really burned up that great. That one out there, I never did burn it. I should. I could still burn it now, but a lot of the material that's in it's kind of rotted down. But anyways, that's why you see random brush piles in our pasture here, because at one time it was a pine thicket. But before that, this used to be tobacco, and then it grew up after the guy that used to own this land, when he quit tending it, it grew up in pines. And then when we come along and bought it from, well, we bought this piece right here separate from what our house is, where my grandpa used to live, and we bought this from the neighbor. And when we bought it, we cleared it off and sowed it in grass and started our pastures. You guys can see the seed laying down there. It's laying pretty good. Right here's our holes, and you can see there's a seed down in there. But when it rains, these seeds that might be laying right here on the edge, they'll just kind of flow right down in those holes like that. There'll be little bitty round spotches of grass everywhere out here coming up. But I guess that's it for reseeding pastures today. I guess I'm gonna have to run to the store and fill up my fuel tank.
we're gonna water bath our applesauce for 20 minutes, just like we did our apples the other day. Your time don't start though till this water in this big pot starts coming to a rolling boil, and then you'll start your 20 minutes. So we're gonna let that go to town. Our pasta's done, so we're gonna add in a half of one of those little blocks of Velveeta cheese. I think it's about 8 ounces. And it just melts better if you have it cut into little pieces. And get that mixed in and let that start melting. So I'm gonna give y'all up close here, since most of my cheese is melted. Fabulous. So I'm gonna serve this with some buttered toast, and that's all for supper tonight. My water bath hasn't started boiling yet. It takes it a little bit sometimes. So anyways, I guess that's gonna about wrap it up for today's video. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope you might have learned a little something. Until we see y'all in the next one. Y'all have a good one.